Hello everyone and welcome to the Fit Horse YouTube channel. My name is Reinis Rudzītis and I'm working as a saddler and as a saddle fitter. Today I would like to talk to you about the topic that's not getting quite much attention in my opinion. And thus it will be a saddle for a young horse. Also, information in this video will be quite related to just the horses with undeveloped back muscles due to lack of their physical condition, exercise and etc. And also for older horses because unfortunately, inevitably with the age comes the changes in the back shape. So, once we know all this, let's get started. When dealing with saddles and young horses, it is our task, our job to ensure maximum comfort for the young horse in the first time under the saddle. Since the horses that are not being brought in just yet are used to be worked in hands, they are used to us as humans, as riders, that we are approaching them, I don't know, from the sides, you know, from the front. Sometimes we approach them, the brave ones approach them from the back. It's not recommended, but you know, we all do that. But we never approach them from the top. And that first time when we are approaching a horse from the top, when we're mounting up for the first time, it can be a very irritating and specific experience to them. Some horses react to it very easy, as Apollo. When first time I sat on him, I mounted on the top of him, he was very calm and relaxed, but not all horses are like that. Some horses are more sensitive than he is, and thus it is our job to make that first contact, that first experience with the rider from the top as comfortable, as relaxed and as easy as possible. You may heard some stories from other riders that first time on the young horse can be quite a nasty experience. They tend to balk, they tend to throw you off or something. Sometimes it's just how the horse is. Maybe you mounted up too quickly, maybe he needed a little bit more job in work in hands and stuff like that. But sometimes it can also be associated with a poor saddle fitment and maybe even with the pain. Because if that experience, that first time, is very uncomfortable and very painful to him, I think that even Apollo would throw me off if that would be a painful experience for him. He's super calm as a stallion, he's super easy to work with, but even he has his limits. Now I would like to just describe and tell a little bit of a difference between back shapes between young horse and between full-grown mature horse. The younger ones tend to have very edgy backs with the spine protruding through the back, so most likely the back of a young horse looks like a little bit like a letter V that's inverted, something like this, with the top of the letter inverted V as the spine that protrudes, and these parts, the slopes, are just the back with undeveloped muscle and lack of muscle mass. Actually, on the Apollo, you can see that his spine is not very high up, but still he has that slopey back. Here we can also observe lack of muscle. Some may say that he has pretty high withers, but actually that's an optical illusion. That's just to deal with the lack of muscle mass behind the shoulder blades. Well, the shoulder blade is approximately almost not existent on him, but that's about to grow up, I hope so. So basically, this is a typical back of a young horse, 3 years old, no muscle mass, barely broken in. And unfortunately, I do not have a full-grown mature horse here with me, so I will insert a picture here, hopefully. But as you can see, the back of the horse that's been mature and already grown up is more round. And the spine is not protruding up, the back is more flat and round. So those are the two main differences between the back shapes of a young and matured horse. Due to very rapid changes in the young horse's body, I would really recommend you to check your saddle fitment after each 6 months, or when this horse is starting to show some sort of discomfort or some irritating behavior or something like that. No matter which one comes first, you should really check your saddle regularly on a regular basis. That would be, as I've said, after 6 months. I know that there are people out there who are not willing to invest in a good quality saddle for a younger horse because they grow so fast, you know, and then you need a different saddle and etc. And most likely a lot of people are just riding with some old saddle that they just found in the barn, or just a friend's saddle that they borrowed, and they are not quite checking how well it fits or in what sort of condition the saddle is. It doesn't matter if it's a young horse or a mature horse, both of them need an equally good fitment. And now I would just like to show you some features that would come in handy when considering a saddle for a younger horse. Please be aware that I will not show you how to fit a saddle through the video, and if you need help, please do it together with your saddle fitter who is qualified and who has an education and who knows what he's doing. First of all, I would highly recommend you to use a saddle which has quite big panels that are filled with wool, because they tend to absorb the horse's back imperfections better than the close contact ones. And for an edgy backs and edgy back shapes, this sort of panel works much better. And now I will turn the saddle around and show you one other feature. I would really like to use this sort of saddle for a younger horse, because previously I've mentioned that they have undeveloped backs, and especially behind the shoulder blades. And these panel shapes, this design compensates really well with the lack of muscle behind the shoulder blade. So I would really recommend you to use something like this. Just ensure that the panels are big, quite fat, and please pay attention to the saddle flocking. If it's smooth and even, like this, then you should be good to go. But if it's very bumpy and uneven and hard, this may cause some damage to your horse's back.
Also, when fitting a saddle to a younger horse, I would pay attention to the saddle tree type. This tree has this extra cutback in the front to ensure that the withers have a little bit of extra room in there.
On a younger horses such as Apollo, I would not use a saddle that is a close contact type or very sporty. As you can see in the front, the panels here are really slim, and if I turn it around, they are also not so big and not so bulky. You can also observe it from here. They are much lower than in the previous saddle, and if we have a little room for play here, we have very little, how to say correctly, opportunity or option to absorb the horse's back imperfection. I'm recommending close contact saddles on well-developed horses, muscular horses, on those that are having their muscles grown and their backs are looking proper and good. On a younger horse, I would really stay out of the close contact saddle with a very low and flat profile. Also, this type of saddle doesn't have a cut in the front, and thus most likely it will lay down on horses' withers, because young horses do not have full backs behind the shoulder blade and the saddle has nowhere to sit properly. You don't always need to use a brand new saddle. Of course you can get yourself an older one. Just be sure that the tree is not broken, and just be sure that the panels are still in okay shape. For example, as in this saddle, it's been reflocked quite recently, so there's no problem with the flock that's been bumpy and lumpy and causing pain or damage to the horse's back. It's up to you and your saddle fitter to decide what sort of saddle you will use. It doesn't matter, dressage or jumping, just use what you're used to and find the best solution for you and your horse. Sometimes some extra help is needed when fitting a saddle for a younger horse or a horse which has undeveloped back, because no saddle manufacturer makes saddles for poor backs, you know, and that's when some sort of extra equipment may come in handy. As we all know, this is correct, this is completely correct, that the saddle must fit correctly without an additional pad, without an additional things under it, but it's considering if the saddle is in a good condition and if a horse's back is in a good condition. On undeveloped backs, on poorly backs, you may need to use some sort of additional pad while the horse is growing up the muscle and developing its back. I like to use sheepskin pads, and I recommend using only sheepskin pads. First thing that you will need on your sheepskin pad is this gullet cut that goes through a whole saddle, because then you're lifting up the saddle, but you still have that extra clearance for the withers. If you do not have this cut and it's just a plain full sheepskin, this part in the saddle will just be filled with sheepskin. Your saddle will be lifted up, but you won't gain any extra room. Another feature that I like in this pad is that it has those pockets where you can add some extra material to adjust the saddle's balance on the horse. Again, I would highly recommend you to do it all together with your saddle fitter who knows what is a proper saddle balance and how to achieve it. I know that it's a rider's personal preference, but on a younger horse, I would still recommend you to use a saddle with a deeper seat. A deeper seat allows you to sit a bit closer to the horse, to feel deeper in the saddle, and to have more control if the things actually go wrong. The deeper seat and the bigger knee rolls will actually provide you with more support if it's necessary. And the last thing regarding to saddles is that maybe it's not worth just yet to invest in a custom-made saddle that's been made from the horse's measurements. Those saddles most of the time are very expensive, and yes, your horse most likely will grow out of them because the young ones are changing very rapidly. It's highly possible that after a half a year or after 1 year they won't fit anymore. So you've spent a lot of money, and if the saddle is not adjustable, most likely you will end up selling it anyways. There are saddles with interchangeable gullet plates. That's basically a metal plate that's located in the front of the tree that you can take out, put the new one in that's bigger or smaller depending on what your horse needs. And there are also saddles that have adjustable trees that you can adjust in a saddler's workshop. Most of the times it's like the saddler comes to and visits your horse, takes the measurements, and then takes the saddle away, adjusts the saddle to more wider or to more narrower stance, and then brings back to you. So when considering a saddle, just know what technology it offers to you and what do you like the most. And of course everyone knows that, but I will still remind you, when saddling up for the first time, be careful. There are different horses, different reactions, and you don't want to experience the bad ones. Be careful when tightening up the girth for the first time. Be careful when you're letting down the stirrups and they're moving and touching the horse. Some horses may react very spooky, so just know what you're doing, be patient, and I really know that you're going to succeed in no time. I really enjoyed making this video for you, and I really hope that you enjoy watching it. So if you have any questions or any ideas for next videos, please put them in the comments. I will try to reply to you all, and have a nice day and see you next time. Bye bye.